Thank you. So I love it that you're all here on Friday morning on the last day of conference. So I'm going to try to make it good. So it's worth your while for staying. So good morning. Thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and set some ground rules. So we're going to all be interactive today so that you know that I see you, you see me. And so if I refer to something that sounds like you, to my friend with the Starbucks on the second row, yes, that means that I'm talking to her, and she gave me a nice little thumbs up. So my dad's a Baptist minister, so I talk in a call and response fashion, and then I expect you to respond. That's how this is going to go. So I'm going to try it again and say, good morning. Good morning. Yes. See, this is how you make it to brunch on time. I keep talking, you keep talking back. I move this along, you get to break. So as she mentioned, my name is Dee Maddox. My company is DMX Consulting. My initials, not the rapper. And it stands for Demand Excellence. How many of you have mothers? Raise your hand if you have a mother, dead or alive, your personal angel or here on earth with you, making your life very interesting. How many of you have judgy mothers? Anybody? Yes, thank you, sir. 2 hands. I appreciate it. So I do too, and that's where DMX came from. My brother and I would joke about my mother's insistence that everything be so perfect. So I decided when I quit my good government job in the middle of the pandemic, yes, I left the government after 25 years. What? In the pandemic, nonetheless, to start DMX Consulting, and I decided to use my initials for the company. So I was SHRM certified from 1999 to 2019. And I said, I'm not going to go back to HR. Sir, I went back to HR. But I did have the credentials for 20 years. Now I just can't bring myself to take that test again. I'm a lady of a certain age. So I'm just going to roll with the 20 years of CEUs that I collected along with my bachelor's and my master's and keep going. So, who knows what the theme of this year's conference? One brave person, raise your hand. Theme of the conference that brought you here. Yes. Raising the bar. Thank you, friend. Raising the bar. What are we raising the bar on? What are we raising the bar on?
All things HR related.
All things HR related. The buzzword these days is the employee experience. What does that even mean? Say it with me. Employee experience. Okay, thank you, group 2. Group 1. Thank you. There's more of you, so you're going to have to be louder, but thank you. The employee experience, and what is the employee experience? The employee experience is everything from recruitment to retirement, or whatever that separation looks like. That's what we're raising the bar on. We've been raising the bar and judging and scoring things our entire lives. For me, it started in 2nd grade with Miss Hamill with the prize box. Who didn't love a Friday morning trip to the prize box? You know, you collect your little points all week long, doing all the right things in the classroom. And if you're lucky and you get enough points, she said, yeah, she was a prize box girl. Thank you, friend. You get to go to the prize box. So our employees are our responsibility. Where are my humans? If you're a human, all the humans, thank you, humans. Thank you, humans. That's all of you. We're human resources. So on Tuesday at North Texas SHRM, I did a different talk, putting the human back into human resources. That's you. Only I was short-sighted and I submitted a different talk for y'all. I've been regretting it for weeks. I could have done the same talk twice, but it still matters because we're raising the bar at the 2024 Texas Municipal Human Resources Annual Conference. And we're going to do that by, I love alliteration, elevating employee excellence. It's a lot of words. But I suck at math, but I'm really good at words. And elevating employee excellence through growth and development initiatives. So for those of you who are just meeting me, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, so sometimes I may go Alabama on y'all. That's the Alabama part, the y'all. If I had to do this talk over, I would name it Take Care of Your People. Take care of your people. So all these words, elevating employee excellence, growth and development initiatives, boils down to taking care of your people. So for my note takers, where are we? We're raising the bar on employee excellence, and we're doing that by taking care of the people on all the transactions on this little journey from recruitment to retirement. So why do we lure them in? And then when they get here, it's like a bad relationship. We get used to them. They're just here. We don't want to invest in them. And the first thing that we do whenever the budget gets tight and times get rough, we do what?
Set them aside. Set them aside.
Set them aside. But I heard the answer. Who said it? Sit down. Yes. Sorry. We cut training. We cut training. Okay, I'm going to ask you to trust me. I'm a trustworthy person. I have 2 adult children. I'm sorry, I lie. 3 adult children. There's one I'm trying to forget right now.
You succeeded for a moment.
She's on her 5th year at Oklahoma State. My money goes there. Go Pokes. So we had an agreement. Pause for a second, people. We had an agreement. My son is now a freshman. The agreement was she would get out of school when her brother started. She is not graduating in June, people. And I have to drive to Houston to pick my son up from his first year. So I'm just saying, it doesn't always go as planned. Things don't always go as we plan them. We lure them into our organization. That's the beginning of the journey during the recruitment. And then when we get them, we get comfortable in the relationship. You got good accessories. You've been in some relationships. We get comfortable in the relationship. And then we stop doing all the things we did to get them. Married people, don't be shy. It's too late now. Raise your hand. Thank you. She's happily married. I'm going down here. What do we do once we get them? How do we keep them happy? Who's familiar with 5 love languages? 5 love languages? 5 love languages. Time, gifts, acts of service, physical touch, words of affirmation. For those of you who are writing them down because Mother's Day is coming. Time, gifts, physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation. What are we again? We're humans. And even in the employee situation, on this journey of recruitment to retention, we have to speak their love language. Growth and development initiatives. We have to take care of the people. Does that make sense? That we're taking care of the people. We're raising the bar. Employees want to be recognized, appreciated, and developed. That's all they want. What do we want in relationships, ma'am? The same? So this is not science. I'm not boring you with a bunch of facts. I'm talking to you about what should be important as our jobs in human resources. And I hate to break this to you, but as humans, you're an employee too. So all that EI stuff, EI affectionately known as EQ, emotional intelligence, there are 2 sets of competencies there. The first half of it has to deal with the man in the mirror, little Michael Jackson. Self-awareness and self-control. And then the social side of it, social competence. We lure them into our organization and then we abandon them. But what we should be doing is pouring into them. Now, I talked to a friend earlier, Heather, and she said she broke up with Apple. I was like, what? Where are the rest of my Android people? Where are you? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The rest of you Apple? Okay. So do you know how many times a year Apple pushes out an update for you to do? They send you a little note and they say, we found some problems with the stuff we got, but we don't want you to throw it away. We just want you to do this as soon as possible, and everything with your $5,000 phone will be okay. And you don't balk about it. You don't think about it. What do you say to yourself? I got to plug my phone up. I got that update waiting. And you do it every time. You update the software to keep it doing what? Working properly. Why don't we do that with our employees? Why don't we pour into them so that we can keep them working at their optimal? Does that seem like a reasonable thing to do? Then why don't we do it? Why don't we, my friend, okay, wait a minute. I can't come past this line. We already know what's going to happen. Y'all didn't see her. I like her. She said, it costs. But guess what costs more? What? Losing them. I'm running out of cards now. Uh-oh. Losing them costs more. Anywhere from 50% to 200% are the replacement cost. So we buy these phones, that's what we're going to call the employees. We buy these phones, and then we don't want to do the updates and the upgrades. And guess what? That's not how we keep them working at the optimal capacity. If you don't perform the updates, then what do you have? I love you. She said a $5,000 piece of junk. Then you have the disgruntled employees. You have the disgruntled employees. Employees are just like I was at 7 trying to get to that prize box. They want to be good at what they do. And when you give them the tools that they need to be good at what they do, then mastery equals motivation. Motivation equals retention. Happy employees do what? Stay. Happy employees stay. And that reduces turnover. Happy employees work harder, and that increases productivity. More productivity, here's your seat at the table, HR people, increases the profit. Performance, productivity, profit. People first, profits follow. Imagine that. Are you with me? All right. This group wants to get to brunch on time. I'm worried about you. All right. So that brings me to what I think you were worried about is what I do not love, my first slide. Where do I have to be to make this work, sir? Here we go. Nurturing growth and development is not merely a strategy. It's a driver for success. And what is that success? Performance. Productivity, profit. I know you thought I was just talking. I do have slides. Uh-oh. Why is it important? Because things are changing. We had a global pandemic. Our workforce is now hybrid. We have people accepting jobs and not showing up. I don't know if y'all haven't experienced that. I'm talking about what I know about. People accepting job offers, the first day of work comes and no show. Skills and competencies needed to evolve and adapt. That's why it's important to meet industry demands, because the talent industry is competitive. The reason they don't show is because they don't have to. I said this already. Engaged employees are more committed and enthusiastic about their work, and it positively impacts productivity and job satisfaction. I actually would love a world where PowerPoint wasn't expected or required, and I could just talk to you about this, but the way it works is I have to use these. So what you're going to see behind me is reminders of some of the things I've already said today. Boosting retention. Purpose. The reason why young people, particularly not just young people, maybe people in the second chapter of their life are doing things differently is because, friend, she said yes, bless your heart. They want to find purpose. They don't want to just work for money. So if you thought that your offer was going to do it, it's not enough. They want work that's meaningful. Imagine that. They want meaningful work. They want to do something. They want to be a part of something bigger. If you heard them talking about sustainability and mission focused, they want to be a part of something bigger. And when they feel like they're a part of the machine, what happens? When they feel like they're a part of it, what happens? They perform because they understand where they fit in. Whose responsibility is it to tell them where they fit in? Everyone in the organization. However, newsflash, 50% of them, if you ask them right now, I don't know. Do you know how your job impacts the overall organization? I don't know. I just do whatever Sharon tells me to do. Meaningful work. They need to know how their contribution impacts the organization overall. And PTO, please tell the others. When they're happy, guess what they do? They tell their friends. And all of a sudden, your Ritz, your Southwest, name somewhere people really like to work that has good perks and everybody's happy. Chick-fil-A, thank you, friend. My husband goes, I'm not giving them my name. That doesn't matter. I was like, you just don't love Chick-fil-A. Get out of my car. Why do they ask you your name? I said, newsflash, my husband is the least resistant. I mean, I live with him every day, yet I have to coach him regularly on people skills. He doesn't want to give the people the name so that they can recognize you and say, thanks, Miss D. They want to thank me for my order. And you know what they say? They don't actually say thank you. You know what they say? My pleasure. It's their pleasure to get me French fries. My pleasure. It's been explained to them how their interaction impacts the customer. When you take care of the people, they take care of the customers. Happy customers, here's your seat at the table, HR, more profit. And they tell their friends. Then they tell their friends. And you don't have people accepting offers and not showing up. Because they show up. Because they've heard about you. You're a good boss. Now, I'm not talking about where you've been, but I'm talking about where I've been. So my first job, I was with the United States Postal Service while I was in college, right? But before I was with the post office, I was with something that y'all don't know about. It was Bell. I was an operator with the phone company. That's how old I am. I was a real operator, answering real calls on a landline that had a wire to it, sir. One day my roommate came home and she said, guess what? I said, what? She said, I found us another job. And how did she find that job? She heard about it. She said, they have flexible schedules so we can go to school. She says, and they have lots of off days. She was like, and the third thing she said to get me, it pays $1 more. Sold. So I went from Bell to United States Postal Service. Benefits, more pay, lots of schedules, ma'am. You can work around class. We were so happy and broke. But when you're attracting top talent, people tell people about your organization. So my last federal agency that I was with, I was in a regional office responsible for 7 states, Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, Arizona, and Utah, and 31 Indian tribal organizations, and 15 federally funded programs. One of the branch chiefs was losing people, and she would come into the office and say how horrible all of her people were and how they couldn't do this and they didn't do that. I hate to tell you this now that I'm on the other side. If you have an employee that's not performing up to their capacity, it's like a bad kid in the grocery store throwing a fit because you want to buy them M&Ms. I know y'all don't know any of those. Whose fault is it? What are you thinking when you see that kid throwing that fit? It's the parent's fault. So we have one branch, she's losing people. Every other quarter, someone's requesting a transfer, and they're going not out because we treat them like checkers and chess. We don't let them go. We just move the problem. Then they go to another manager. Sir, what happens when they're under the tutelage of a new manager? Thriving. Thriving. So were they actually the problem? Because all of the people who are fleeing from one unit and going to another unit, and his people are high-fiving, they're going to lunch, they're having stand-up talks, they're getting coffee together. I see him passing by, we're going to get coffee. He's buying. Do you think that he wanted to buy them coffee? Or do you think he wanted to increase the morale and the relationship on his team so they could all walk the 2 blocks? You know, when you go out of the building for the good coffee, he was taking them out of the building for the good coffee. That was meaningful. So people went to his branch and thrived. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the other person's still saying, I can't believe these folks won't do their work. She was not developing them. She was not pouring into them. She was not taking care of them. How many of you used to go to the state fair and get those goldfish? Anybody? They don't last long, do they, ma'am? And I would say, I'm going to get another one this year, and this time it's going to live forever. Not so much. We start taking care of things as children, our pets. You have kids, they beg you for the dog, you get the dog. Who's feeding the dog? Mom? Yes, thank you. You know my life. He said, Dad. He goes, wait, don't forget, Dad's feeding it too. Mom does work and Dad feeds the dog too, but not the kid that begged for it, right? We start taking care of things at a really early age. So we know the routine of what nurturing looks like, but when you do it the right way, people will tell their friends, and then you'll have a list of eligible applicants dying to get into your organization. Leaders who never take off, who can't be gone because they're so important and they're so busy. You know what that says to me? You're not developing your team. You're so important and you're so powerful and you can never take off. You're not developing your team. And that's a disservice. You should be allowing stretch assignments. You should be allowing details. You should be allowing shadowing. You should be doing cross-training. You should be secretly making a list of who's got next so you can take that vacation. Take the vacation that you've been dying to have because you have not one superstar, but a team of capable individuals who you've trained and set up for success by doing a little dirty word I'm going to share with you today. Oh my God, I'm out. Delegate. Delegate. She whispered it. Y'all couldn't see her. Delegate. She knows this dirty word. Delegation. Delegation is a form of development. So this talk that I came up with, it's about my pain points that I've experienced at work for 25 years. It's not science. I don't have a PhD. I've never been a VP of HR, but I have been HR for 25 years. I've done, experienced, been here, dealt with. The post office is unionized, by the way. Progressive discipline is a thing. First you talk to them about it, then you write them up, then you suspend them, then you suspend them, then you suspend them, then you start over. Disney calls it recasting, finding out the strengths of people and putting them in the place for success and doing a little crazy thing that we talk about called communication. Communication. Say that. Communication. Just talk to them. You can find out the problem by talking to them. And when you delegate, you're making a succession plan, you're creating the possibility of transition, and you're giving them a chance to develop their skills. That's what delegation is about. It's going to lead you to leaders create leaders, not followers. That's the bottom line. So if you can't take off and you don't have someone ready to step up when you hit the lottery, I won't say you get hit by a truck. When you hit the lottery and you disappear, you have someone who can step right in and take your place because you've done that. Delegation. You still with me? When you're delegating, you're growing your people and you're allowing them to share. They feel safe. So my claim to fame in my mind, I was the human capital team lead for space shuttle retirement at Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. There were 2 loss of life accidents, Challenger and Columbia. In 2008, President Bush said we will retire our space vehicles. He didn't know later we'd outsource it to billionaires, but that's not the point. He knew that we couldn't continue to fly space shuttles that were killing people. So he mandated it in 2008, and then during President Obama's administration, 2010, we retired the space shuttle. The reason why there were 2 loss of life accidents is because of communication. People knew there was a problem, but they were afraid to say it. If you have a team that you're not talking to, then you have a problem. Performance reviews don't work. They've not been proven to improve performance. It's just something we do because we have to. If we were to actually do this, allow performance to improve performance, we wouldn't have the problems that we have. So I want you to say this: let's use PIPs to improve, not remove.
Let's use PIPs to improve, not remove.
Usually when we pull out a PIP, whoever's known someone to come back from a PIP? Anybody? You've known someone that came back from one? Thank you. Performance improvement plan. If we actually use that same documentation as a pathway to improve their performance, then you're protecting your investment. That's a growth and development initiative. If we use the tools that we currently have differently. Oh, so I'm the only one? You've never seen anyone go out of a PIP, go on a PIP and go right out the door? It's just me? Thank you, my honest friend on the end. Guys? Here we go. Improving performance. So, the D.E.E.D. How do you improve the performance? I need 6 volunteers. And I'm sorry, I'm out of Starbucks cards. I should have kept them. I need 6 volunteers. Okay, 1, come on up. 2, come on up. 3, come on up. 4. That's 4. Yes, ma'am. 5, 6. Where are my card sharks? Who plays cards? Anybody? I don't play at all. Yes, that's okay. So, these are Uno cards. Uno cards are a color-coordinated game. It's the only card game I actually know how to play. But the D.E.E.D. is about the design, education, execution, and documentation of a sustainable process to improve performance. So instead of doing things the way you always do them, think outside of the box and come up with a new and creative way that you design. So I've decided to share with you today an employee development exercise based on Uno cards. Hello, friend. Pick a card. Doesn't matter. Okay. All right. What card do you have? The skip. She's got the skip card. So in the game of Uno, you decide up front, I think the minimum number that you can start with is 5. And the goal of the game, if you know Spanish, is to get down to 1 card. And you do it through communicating where you are in the game. And you pick cards, and the cards direct you what to do, similar to what happens. But if you're in an employee journey somewhere between recruitment and retirement, and you're climbing the ladder, and you get her card, what's it again? The skip. Okay. You go with her, the skip card. You're going to talk about employee development initiatives that happen when you get skipped, whatever that means to your group. You're with them. You're with them. The second row's with them too. The first two rows are together. Hello, friend. What's your card?
0.
The 0. This is a numeric card. Numeric cards in Uno, you can line them up like sequentially, and things are going the way they're supposed to. You can still put them down together, but they're clustered, but they don't really have any power to save you. It's just things are going like they should. So what do you do when things are going like they should when it comes to employee and development initiatives? Let me walk you to your group. You're going to be the next two. Like that second little section is not that many back there. My friend here in the sweater, starting with her and her in the goal, those are your people. Yes. Hello, friend. Oh,
Reverse.
Reverse. Reverse. Okay. What happens when you have a reversal in your career? You're going back. Like I let my SHRM certification go, then I went back to HR. Yeah. Does that ever happen in a situation? So there's a few of my friends that are kind of spread out, those back 3 rows. Yeah, those are your people. I want each group is going to come up with a minimum of 3 development initiatives related to your card. Yes. Hello, friend.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, yeah.
Of course you got that card. She's got the wild card. That's your section. Go back to your section. I want you to, with all of them, that whole section. The wild card in Uno is the one that lets you not be bound by the color. So the rule of Uno is you have to play the color that you have or that's on the board. If you have one of those, it changes the game. You can then call another color and mess up your opponents. It's a very flexible card. It drives innovation and ideas. So I'm dying to know what this middle group comes up with. The 3 strategies for growth and development related to the wild card. Thank you, friend. Hello.
Hi.
Ooh, draw 2. Draw 2 is a powerful card. It's a very powerful card. You can make someone pick up 2 cards, which improves your position. Or you could add 2 things to yourself to make yourself better and more competitive. If you happen, like sometimes somebody can make you draw 2 and you get the 2 that you need to finish out a sequence. So draw 2 could be good or bad. So I want you to take that my nice lady right there, her, and the lady that to the back. Okay. We're going back to your side where you were. We're going to be with that like other group. What's your card?
Wow.
Ooh, okay. So this one is the draw 4 wild. It's the only combination card because you can force someone to pick up 4 cards, giving them 4 more than you, taking them farther away from 1, but then you get to call the color. Very powerful. I think this is an executive card, but you're going to be with the people that were sitting on that side with you, that whole little section. So I'd like for you to take 5 minutes, and we're going to come up with 3 employee development initiatives related to your card, starting now. Hey.
I have some keys by an empty chair back there, so maybe you can make an announcement.
I will. Thank
Not
you.
maybe
Okay, it's a Buick.
they may
Okay.
not.
They don't even know they got missing them. Thank you. Two-minute warning. 2-minute warning. Ooh, nice. I know.
Makes it a little easier to be wild.
You live your life right. I know that already.
Well, what's funny is my group left because we're creating a women's development group in our city. So all of the executive leadership roles in our city, we're coming together to meet regularly, support each other, have some conversations, and we're trying to come up with a name. And wild is what we came up with: Women in Leadership Development. So it's kind of humorous that this is because then we were like, well, does it sound like Girls Gone Wild if we do that?
I love that. I love
So,
that.
It's kind of funny to us.
I'm going to come to your group. Call me.
Trust me, I've already had it up here. You were on the list.
30 seconds. I hope you've got your 3 ideas. I hope you've got your 3 ideas per group. All right, friends, that is our time. I hope you've got 3 initiatives. I hope you've got 3 initiatives for your card for the design of your new employee initiative program based on UNO. Now you're going to educate us on it and share your 3 ideas. Come on back up to my card holders. And I'm just going to give you a brief reminder. We have our draw 4, our skip, our reverse, our draw 2, our number card, and our wow card. So who's going first?
It's up to you.
No, down. That's you. You spoke. Well, you said you didn't want to talk. You want to.
I can talk.
Okay, go ahead. Share your 4 with us.
Okay, can you hear me? We have the skip card, and it's like you were talking about communication. So we talked about the good thing about a skip card is Sugar Land was telling us they had Public Works, and somebody retired, and they had 2 people that could fill the position, but when they looked at their skills and interviewed them, they weren't ready yet. So they went with somebody else, but they sat down and talked to them first and said, we want to develop you and develop the skills that you need to be successful in this position. So even though they were skipped, they were developed. So that's a good way to handle it. Also, another good way to skip somebody is to maybe laterally move them, put their skills that could be applied to a different position into play. so they don't feel that they're not appreciated or they're not doing their job well. But a negative way to skip somebody is perhaps, you don't sit down with the people involved and say, this is why you're not getting the job. You're just giving it to somebody else. And here's these people who think they're in line for the position, but they don't get the position. Well, why didn't I get it? What did I do wrong? Why'd they go with somebody else? And so that's a negative way to skip people.
Thank you very much. Good job. Thank you, Skip
I
team.
was a high school teacher.
All right, who's next?
I'm in the reverse section of my life.
Join. I save room for you. Join me. Who's next?
I can go next.
Thank you.
All right, so this lovely group back here, those are my teammates, so they're gonna help me if I get anything wrong.
Okay.
So in the reverse, we were working with a regressive employee who was on the right track and then they went reverse. So what we decided was 3 things that we came up with was number 1, to ask questions. What's going on? What can we do to help you be successful? I really like that. Someone came up with that as well. Just start asking questions because maybe there's something that you're missing. Someone also mentioned that it may not be something that pertains to their work. Could be some outside factors.
Personal.
So if you just ask enough open-ended questions, that employee would hopefully open up to you and you can try to get that resolved. Number 2 was to make sure that the employee understands the scope of the job, understand the leadership skills that it takes. Some people, we had a lot of folks who mentioned that they had employees who maybe promoted and didn't understand, like, oh my goodness, now I have to do all of these things. They didn't really understand that what the scope of that job would be. So then, yes, they start to regress. So that was one of the things, is understanding the scope, and they had really good examples just about how they ready them for success before, so that they won't have that issue later. And then the third one was really talking about redevelopment of that employee. So starting from the bottom, working their way back through the job, not taking them out of the job, but just starting a redevelopment process.
Wow, that was lovely. So I heard reboarding, I heard communication, and I heard coaching and counseling and mentoring. So sometimes it's just exactly that. Asking the questions, providing them with the tools, and using your words. When we bring people in, the reason why performance reviews don't work is because we're not having the conversations about what they need to perform. Good job. Thank you. Very nice. All right, friend.
I had the 0. So we kind of took it as, based on what you said, sort of like the standard, methods and the standard plan for employees. And so one of the things we said that we would do is to create some kind of roadmap for success. So that way employees come in and they know, like, I'm starting here at A, but how do I get to, F or whatever's down the way? So we would make a roadmap for them to show them how they can progress and, what that takes to get from A to B and all that. So we would create that for them. The other thing we talked about was to, yes, thank you, to recognize the ones who are moving and progressing and basically reward them and give them recognition. And so that we would get them to continue to move along through the line. And then we talked about continually evaluating them and seeing where they're at, where they're measuring. I think lastly we said, yes, doing like a mentoring program, the shadowing and mentoring to really get them to continue to see where they can go.
That's what you should be doing. They provide a roadmap. Where am I now? Where do I go? And how do I get there? If you're on track, we all want to go to the prize box. Give them some rewards for doing the right thing, as my son would say, for doing the right thing, and then developing them. And that development, when we have limited budgets, can be with things that don't cost anything, peer-to-peer, mentor, coaching. We're always going to be stretched for budget, but we've got to be more creative and design methods to do that. Recognize, appreciate, and develop. Thank you. Good job. Number card. Yes, ma'am. The wild card.
Wow. So, because we were wild, we just took it as we had no constraints. That's how we're going to develop them.
Nice.
So, really, the biggest thing for all of our key points was no budget constraints, because then we can do anything we want to. So the first one was just the unlimited training in general for individualized development, meeting with our employees one-on-one, developing them on an individual basis instead of company-wide, where it's kind of the same pathway situation of where do they want to go, where do we want them to go, and putting what they need in place to be able to do that through a training process. The second thing was pushing them beyond their limits and outside of their comfort zone, so putting them in situations that maybe aren't their comfortable little box that they live in, so meeting their goals by pushing them to exceed where they're at now, and it may not always be comfortable, but being able to afford to put them in those situations as well. And then finally, kind of same as what the others have spoken about, is a mentorship type of program, and just some executive development, future leader development in general, and being able to mentor them and have the time and the resources dedicated to be able to push that out to all employees, whether their goal is to be in city managers or just be the best sanitation driver they can be.
Exactly.
Whatever that looks like, to be able to mentor them and get them where they need to be and develop them. So
Thank
without
you.
budget.
And what she just said is really important. It's not a cookie cutter approach. Not everyone wants to aspire to management. My dad worked for the phone company for 36 years, and he never wanted to be management. So if a person wants to be an individual contributor their entire career, help them be the best individual contributor that they can be. Everyone doesn't want to climb the ladder. They don't want the responsibility of being responsible for others. They just want to be really good at their job. And that's where we come in on that journey from recruitment to retirement. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I'm with the draw two, and for the draw two, we were, supervisors can delegate, 2 things for an employee, and it could be a positive impact or a negative impact. Positive could be like that the employee is actually learning, be able to help with, wanting to become a leader in the future, but it can also be a negative if like your supervisor is saying, I need you to take care of wellness, and you have no clue what you're doing, and he's trying to, expresses you out and all of that. And then also swapping responsibilities. It's almost like if you're cross-training, so that kind of helps give you a different perspective as far as like, oh, I didn't know that you in your position had all of these responsibilities. And so it kind of helps have a different view and kind of have a better understanding of that person's role. And then also the other positive way of this is like if you also have employees, wanting to volunteer to learn more, helps their growth, helps, progress in their career and all of that. So
Thank you.
Positives and negatives. Like
And that's what's important, the positive and the negative. The draw two, you can add to someone's plate. When you keep adding to their plate, that adds to the stress and the burnout. And the 3 factors of stress: alarm, protection, exhaustion. When you got that 1-star player and you say, oh, I'm just going to give you 2 more things. Well, I can't take 2 more things. And then you have that superstar who's always volunteering for stuff to put more on their plate. That's not good. So you have to stop them. You can't let them continue to volunteer. Yes, they're going to take it. They will, but that doesn't make it okay. So thank you for that. Let's give them a round of applause. Yes, you made it.
Our group had to draw for a while, so we interpreted this card as being executive, but also understanding the decisions that we made could have potentially made other departments or organizations have to draw a card. So one of the initiatives we came up with, correct me if I'm wrong, was cross-training, not only within the department, but within other departments, so that employees can see how it works and gets that overall picture of how the organization comes together to serve our citizens. Another initiative that we came up with was employee acknowledgement, like Employee of the Month. We understand in doing this, it comes with rewarding the employee, but also can put a strain on marketing and other departments that comes with acknowledgement. And then the third thing that we came up with was PTO benefits. Just making it better, time off, flexibility, and different things that the employee needs to have a good work-life balance.
Yay. So this topic, elevating employee excellence by growth and development initiatives. The DEED, where you design something you can do to grow and develop your employees. All of these great ideas that were just shared with you, once you've designed them, then you have to educate everyone on how to implement them. Then here's what we often fail in doing. You have to give them an opportunity to actually implement and execute. And then because this is government, we have to document what happened when we did it so that when you go on vacation, sir, or you retire, or you walk away, then we know what happened the last time this was done. Because 3 years down the line, when someone else brings this idea up and they say, oh, we did that. Does anybody know where the documentation is? Document, document, document. We document so that we have a record of what happened, so that when we change, tweak, and do it again, we can improve upon it. What's documented happened. What's not documented didn't happen. What's documented incorrectly happened. You with me? So that's the DEED. I do have, I hope you were taking notes because those were some really good strategies. How do you feel about the UNO? Yeah? I made that up. I designed it for you for today. The Draw 4, my notes say you can create intensive training programs, mentorship opportunities, and personal development plans. Most of you have IDPs. For the SKIP card, I heard you say this, SKIP people, resilience training, career counseling, and support networks of mentors and people they can work with when they've been skipped over, talking to them about it. The reverse card, some cross-training. Maybe they're like Disney, they need to be recast. If they're going back in their career, maybe they're on the wrong track, so change their position. The Draw 2 card, my friend who said that you're adding stuff, time management and delegation would be an issue. So some time management training, workload balancing, and maybe even a flexible schedule so they can get the things done. And then the number cards, you had all of the answers. The people who, my number group, those were exactly the things you should be doing. A blueprint, some recognition, and some development. And then my wow cards. The wow cards. Flexibility, choice, autonomy, support, all the things. So that is the DEED. And at the end, I'll tell you how to get my full one-pager on the implementation of the DEED. So stay with me. I have about 5 minutes left. Building a learning culture. When you're rewarding, appreciating, and developing your employees, making sure that continuous learning provides continuous improvement. That's not rocket science, and I love to make NASA jokes, but it's not. You just have to create opportunities through mentoring, through reading, through training. If you have an LMS and no one ever logs in, that's a problem. They may not understand the benefit. The things we learn at work, we can transport them to our personal lives. Everything we do personally impacts us professionally, and everything we do professionally impacts us personally. So when we use the LMS system, I was doing Rosetta Stone was part of we had licenses and seats that you could, I didn't have to take another language. When you develop your people and they stay happy and they're happy personally, they're going to be happy professionally. So having a culture of curiosity where you're welcoming new ideas and not just saying, oh, that'll never work. If someone says that'll never work, prove me wrong. And then enhancing organizational agility. We're so afraid of AI and how it's going to change our jobs. I told you that I was an operator on a landline sitting on a desk because I couldn't move, because when you move, you couldn't answer the phone. Now what are we doing in the George Jetson world that we live in with moving sidewalks and flashing billboards and FaceTime like June Jetson? That's how old I am, by the way. We're doing all of the things. Technology is not going to stop. Change happens. Change management and innovation are the two most critical factors that should impact our organization, that we should be developing and teaching our employees about the technology. It's just a tool. It's not to be feared. And yes, there are going to have to be some policies and some regulations around it, just like we did once we got laptops, just like we did with the cell phones that were work issued. Every technology and every innovation that we experience, we always deal with it. We don't have to be afraid. The organization can be more competitive with flexible work schedules, the hybrid. Don't just look to do things the way you've always done them. Alignment, feedback, and outcomes. Every program that you create or develop should be aligned with the mission, vision, and values of your organization. And once you develop it and implement it, don't act like Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter and pull them in at the end of the year and say, oh, you suck. You should be talking to them. Employees who have weekly one-on-one conversations with their managers are 5 times more likely to be satisfied, to stay, and to produce more work. And 28% of employees want to get that feedback from their immediate manager or their supervisor or their CEO. And then the outcomes will be there. When you do those things, the outcomes will be there. So the next 3 slides, which I will make available to you, and they're also in the app, talk about the alignment, the feedback, and the support, and ways you can do them. I have more than 6 words per slide on purpose because I want you to have access to this later. Now, this is where we are. How are you feeling so far about what we've talked about today? Did the Uno game resonate with you? Do you have at least one thing to take back to the hive? My challenge to you is not just go to trainings to collect CEUs and certificates like Pokemon cards. Come here, learn at least one thing, and take it back to your team. So I'm going to pause for a second. Think of your one thing, and I'm going to call on 3 people. Think of your one thing. And I'm going to go one over there, one over here, and one over here. And it can't be my card holder for this group over here, my one thing. So you got your one thing, FAR group? Everybody got one thing? Because I'm going to pick somebody. How about a brave volunteer? Raise your hand from that 3rd group over there with your one thing. Yes, ma'am. And it's free. Thank you very much. All right, middle group, not my wild card holder and not my speaker. Somebody from the middle group, give me your one. Yes, ma'am.
I wrote down to take back to the hive, recognize, appreciate, develop, because I thought that was really simple, but very easy for me to communicate to the managers.
Rad. This is radical environment. Recognize, appreciate, and develop. I told you I'm a words person. That was intentional. Thank you. Okay, this is a nice big section. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Leaders develop leaders, not followers. So on this journey from recruitment to retirement, where we're elevating employee excellence on this thing called employee experience, and we're raising the bar, the theme of this conference, leaders develop leaders. And that's why employee growth and development initiatives are important. So that being said, pull out your phones. I made up the Uno game, and you may be afraid to tell me it sucked and you didn't like it. But I need you to take 2 minutes and do this, and then I'll get to improve. I'll get my feedback. So before I go to the next group, you can make it better for them. I need this feedback because I'm in charge of me, and if you don't tell me how you felt about this, I can't be better. So I'm going to set my timer for 1 minute. I'll actually make it 30 seconds because we're right at 10:15. And then I'll hit my last 2 slides and tell you how to get your D.E.E.D copy and how to get my free 1-pager on the human that I did for North Texas SHRM on Tuesday. Putting the human back into human resources. And I was supposed to get an hour and 15 minutes, but we didn't start until 9:20, by the way. For those of you who are wondering, who are judging me harshly, we started at 9:20, not 9 o'clock. My time slot was 9 to 10:15. I didn't get up here until 9:20. About 30 more seconds, no, 10 more seconds, half of your 30 is gone. Okay. All right, I really appreciate you taking the time to do that to help make me better. I come up with these things, like I said, from a perspective of having done this for 25 years and sharing with you my own pain points of what I've experienced. Is anyone curious why I left the government in the middle of a pandemic? I had a boss who wasn't recognizing, appreciating, or developing me. So in pandemic, when I realized people were dying every day, I had a choice to make. Do something different or go back to that. And I was a hard worker, by the way, in case you're wondering. But I was in a job with no growth potential. I was not allowed to attend training. Did I have a good salary? Yes, I did. Did I have good benefits? Yes, I did. Did I have a flexible work schedule? Yes, I did. But my work was not meaningful, I was not appreciated, and I had no opportunity for development as an individual contributor. And for those of you who are wondering, I was a GS 1310 at a federal agency in a large regional office. So people will leave you. And I hate to tell you, it's not going to be the dregs. It's going to be your high performers who have other options. So that is why I'm here today to tell you to develop your people. Take care of your folks. I'm going to go back to that. On this journey from recruitment to retirement, recognize, appreciate, and develop your people. And the outcome for your seat at the table, more productivity, higher performance, higher satisfaction, lower retention, and happy people. That's all, folks. Thank you.